Texas Governor Greg Abbott just issued a disaster declaration for the 34 counties along the Texas border, claiming that President Biden's immigration policies have caused the worst disaster at our southern border in at least the last 20 years. Joining us now for more on this is Texas Congressman Pat Fallon. Congressman, good morning. Nice to see you again.
Good morning, Rob. Great show, and I'm glad to be on. Thanks.
Pleasure to have you back on, sir. The Biden administration formally ended the Remain in Mexico program. That just happened. This was one of the cornerstones of former President Trump's border policy that forced potential asylum seekers basically to remain in Mexico. The governor of your state, Greg Abbott, just declared the situation there a disaster. And he's getting brushback for doing that, which I find appalling, considering that no one in the administration has even acknowledged the crisis going on down there, the vice president being first and foremost in that category.
No, Rob, you're absolutely right. The Biden border crisis is the result of a severe lack of leadership at the federal level, at the executive branch, at the highest levels of the executive branch of government. I mean, the border crossings have exploded, and we have a de facto open border right now.
Earlier this morning, right here on Wake Up America, we had the former acting CBP commissioner, the Border Patrol commissioner, excuse me, Mark Morgan was on the show, and he made a prediction because we haven't gotten the May numbers yet. Take a listen.
We're going to see the numbers close to 170,000, if not more again. That means 3 months back to back to back where they have been the highest numbers we've seen in over 2 decades. Yet this administration refused to be honest with the American people about the crisis. They refused to take responsibility, and they continue to blame the Trump administration.
Congressman, if that is the case, you'd have to go way back 35 years for the numbers to be anything even remotely close to that. They could be the worst we've ever seen, as you just heard. How concerning is that?
No, it's completely alarming, and the figures don't lie. In 2020, the total number of illegal crossings were 646,000. And just the first 4 months of this year, there are 871,000. And if current trends continue, there'll be a 400% increase in 2021. And it could be as many as 2.6 million illegals crossing. And it's clearly because Joe Biden took President Trump's policies that were working, the Wait in Mexico protocols, building a wall, deportations, and letting criminals know that you'll be immediately deported. Now, we're not deporting folks. We're facilitating them and getting them to their ultimate destination. This is madness.
Well, and the fact that it's just not being addressed, we've got our vice president who's going to Mexico, not the border, and Guatemala this weekend, and not going to the border to see with her own eyes what's actually going on down there is appalling. And she was appointed to run the crisis 72 days ago. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, he put out some frightening numbers just the other day. He tweeted this out, I believe. He said fentanyl is flowing into the United States. Right now, it's at a 257% increase year over year. I don't think everyday Americans realize that it takes less than a day for these drugs to go from the border, the state of Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, to any of the other states in the lower 48.
Rob, what Joe Biden has done is made every state in our country a border state. Fentanyl is incredibly dangerous. And we got a briefing with the DEA, and they said cocaine, fentanyl, and methamphetamines are the illegal crossings. They're exploding. The smugglers are bringing these in, and fentanyl is so incredibly dangerous. I mean, this is a drug that's as much as 100 times more powerful than morphine, and it's more dangerous than heroin. Anything more dangerous than heroin, you better run away from.
All right, you've got a bill that you'd like Nancy Pelosi to address right now. We've had 2 cyber attacks in the last month, both from Russia. Meantime, the president, in 12 days, is set to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Tell us about the situation and how important it is that this be addressed as well.
No, and I really hope Joe Biden does, because this harkens back to like 430 years ago with the privateers under Queen Elizabeth and Sir Francis Drake and those kind of folks. They were raiding gold ships, Spanish gold ships. These cyber terrorists, and our laws haven't kept up with the technology. So we need to, we filed H.R. 3388 over 2 weeks ago, and absolutely nothing's been done. This is a bipartisan bill to protect the homeland. And our laws were written for protecting critical infrastructure, the actual physical attack on critical infrastructure, like actually busting a pipeline, not virtually. So we need to do a few things. One, redefine what an attack really truly is, making it physical or virtual. and then also punishing some of these penalties. If we actually got our hands on some of these cyber terrorists, they would only serve like a year in jail. We need to make it 30 years to life if you attack our critical infrastructure.
Keep us posted on what happens with that, because that's becoming a much bigger issue right now. And the president, by the way, still scheduled to meet with Vlad Putin, which is surprising considering what's going on. Quick question about Dr. Fauci. A lot has shifted since the last time we spoke. The subject of the origins of the coronavirus, it's shifted drastically from the zoonotic theory to maybe this came from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And Dr. Fauci and the misinformation. We now have access to his at least 3,200 emails. Should Dr. Fauci resign?
I think so, considering in light of what we've been learning with the emails. And to sit there and just be so dismissive for over a year on the lab leak theory when it was the most plausible explanation to begin with. I mean, you have hundreds of major cities in China, and where this began was in Wuhan. And where do they do this kind of research, biological research? In Wuhan. That coincidence alone, you'd have to look into it, and it just makes a lot more sense. And now, of course, we're finding out that it's more probable than not that it did come from a Chinese lab.
Congressman Fallon, always enjoy having you on. We always cover a lot. Good to see you again.
Thanks, Rob. God bless. Take care.
All right, you too. Have a nice weekend.